Idaho 4, the truth lies in the conspiracy theories. We'll get into it all this evening. Grab your tinfoil hats and let's go on for the ride. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Live podcast. We are here at Saturday evening, July 1st, 2023, and this is episode 17. I want to welcome in everybody, my guests, my chat, my amazing people, my members. Thank you for being here with me on this holiday weekend. We're going to get into all the truth, lies, and conspiracy theories. I hope you all have your tinfoil hats on this evening, but I can't do this alone. I can't do it alone. We have to bring some people on the panel. We got a couple people here I'm going to bring in. One of my moderators, Chosen Rosen, is here hanging out. And of course, we couldn't do a conspiracy show without Tanya from the Titanium Built YouTube channel. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the panel. How are you all doing?
Doing good. Good. How are you?
I'm well. Josh, you are muted. You're muted. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah. Right answer. That's great. Yeah, we should.
I was like, I'm laughing right now in the chat.
But everybody, what's going on? So we're going to get into this night's topic. It's super laid back tonight, Saturday evening. We're just hanging out. No real like hardcore topic, but we wanted to come on panel this evening. And I think that we're going to do maybe a two-parter to this because I know some other people want to get on this and they just couldn't be here on the panel tonight. So maybe I'll do a part 2 to this tomorrow night. But yeah, so Idaho 4, here we are, new documents. There is crazy stuff popping up and surrounding the case, and it's been crazy from the jump. You know, I think back 5-6 months ago when this all started, you know, all the theories that were out there, all the theories that we heard, all the theories that have been debunked. I mean, why does it cause this much stuff? Like, why do you think, Tanya? I'll let you start first. Why do you think it causes all this?
Well, I think it hit national headlines. I mean, just based on what, like where it was, small town, USA, college town. I think that's what, I think it just gripped everyone's attention because of like them being young, beautiful, like in their pictures, they all seem to like have a really good time. Like, you know, they're like, everybody's kind of like best friend or little sister, or big brother. And I think that, you know, like a lot of people were affected by that because they have like the same age kids or they have the same age friends. So I think it went across the board. It wasn't just like, you know, not to say like anything is not less horrific, but if, you know, like we hear all the time about domestic violence and those type of things, but you don't hear every day about 4 college kids, you know, getting knifed to death while they're sleeping.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big thing too. They were just sleeping in their home.
What do you think, Chosen?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it was just out of the blue. 4 innocent kids just became a victim that night, and it's just eye-opening to, you know, say to yourself, like, I can't believe this happened, you know, in my town. I can't believe it happened to my family. And you know, much love goes out to all the, you know, victims' families and everything like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just feel so bad.
I think
Something
especially
I
them doing, sorry, I think with them
Go ahead.
especially doing everything so right. I think that's what it was. Like for me, I think because when I was their age, I wasn't doing all that stuff. You know what I mean? I was like, you know, I was being wild and crazy at 20. Like I was like college, you know, like drinking and stuff. But like they were just being so like, I don't know, both of them, like both couples were being like, they were together with somebody, they were with people, they weren't driving, they weren't drinking and driving, they weren't out fighting with people, they weren't causing a disturbance, you know, they were like getting some food after they had a ride home. Like, you know, they didn't have Ubers when I was in 20, well, I was 20 also, they didn't have Ubers. And so that's enough. But you know, I mean, like, I don't know, or like Lyfts or private drivers. But I think that's a lot to do with it too.
Why do you think that it's caused so much anger, I guess, in people. Like people get very, I think, on either side of this case. If you look at it, you're either very like with the state or you are with the defense. And what I'm seeing lately, I think at first what I was noticing was the tide really shifted with the state. A lot of people were on the state side. Now you've seen this huge shift in the defense. I mean, my channel's getting a lot of shit right now because I stick to the facts. And I mean, let's be honest, like I think the evidence is still very strong against Kohberger. I mean, I'm very open about that. And it's weird. Like I get comments and people are like, "Oh, you've changed." I haven't changed. Like I have not changed in any of this. But why do you think that brings out so much emotion in people?
I think it's because they put so much time and effort into it. They're putting so much time into it. Has to be, because that's what I mean, that's why I get so upset, is because I feel for the victims. I care about the facts. And then, when you are spending your whole day. Like I wake up and I think about who do I think about them before I think about probably what I'm going to be doing for myself that day. Do you know what I mean? I really do.
Right.
I get up and like I have like an iPad beside me, so that's the first thing I do in the morning is I check like 6 in the morning. I know who's going to be on, who's Mr. Ridiculous sometimes, but I'll be listening to him. He's from another country, so he puts his videos on early. So I'll just like watch his videos, and that's what I do like every morning for the last 7 months. And I think other people, they're putting their like a lot of time and energy into it. And I think that, that's why they're so passionate about it. But I don't, that's just me.
What do you think, Chosen?
Yeah, no, I agree with Tanya. Like, what is it? It's been just a long time that we've all every single day just went over this case, and I think it just hits home for us because it's hard to believe that 4 people could be taken out by one person. So that's where a lot of us divide, like into thinking, how did this happen? Just understanding how it happened, in my opinion, is important. And we all want to know at the end of the day what happened.
So Ivy says there you go, is thinking about talking about that today. People retaliating against people and sticking to the facts and praise those who like drama. Do you think that this case has, do you think being it so public has helped or hurt it? There's been a lot of channels that have popped up, a lot of, I think, in my opinion, misdirection, misguidance in this case. I see a lot of flip-flopping. I'm going to talk specifically probably to YouTube stuff right now. I see a lot of flip-flopping as well too, where, you'll go to like, I'll see some channels go to like complete extreme, and then the next day they're right back to the other, to another extreme and say, just for instance, like Brian Kohberger's guilty. Oh, no, he's not guilty. Oh, he's guilty. No, he's not guilty. What do you think? Why do you think, gosh, I kind of lost my train of thought, but do you think that this has been good, for the case? It's tough. I mean, I'm a YouTuber. Tanya's a YouTuber, and I think that, what I've said is if you can get on YouTube and be righteous about this case and feel good about the things that you say at night when you lay your head down, then albeit. But if you're in this for the wrong things, for clicks and views, in my opinion, you're pretty much a trashy person. I mean, I can't listen. We have no human connection to these people and their families and their victims, and their communities. And I wouldn't. I mean, we're basically public figures now. I wouldn't want to say something trashy, and then what if one day I go to Idaho and I walk through Moscow? People would stone me if I was saying shit.
No, they remember too, because that's small town. I mean, we remember everything in small towns. But I mean, that's another thing too. A lot of people are like, well, everyone's being really quiet and stuff, and I think that's why they're being quiet, because it's a small town. And probably the elders at the coffee shop at 6 a.m. are telling them to shut their mouths. Just keep quiet, guys. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's going to bring it into your family, it's going to bring it into, like the community. They just don't, like, look what's happened just with, I was just thinking about the Mad Greek owner earlier, about everything that person's went through. I forgot I might need to add them to my list. I don't think I have them on my list of people that have been called out as suspects. I don't.
So Karen says, I can't watch this without getting upset. So let me take you to my first question. I know we just kind of free float it right there, but so we've heard a lot of the conspiracy theories surrounding this case. We've heard about cartels. I've heard aliens. I've heard tunnels under the houses. I heard it was the frat, a frat attack. And then, our joke around here is Adam knows everything. It's Adam. Adam's done everything. What's the weirdest or craziest conspiracy that you've heard about this case so far? Anything pop out?
Just the cartel part of it. If you look at these kids, they do not look like they do drugs at all. So just to even throw that idea out there is crazy to me. It doesn't make any sense.
A lot of people kept calling it a trap house, and I'm like, you don't live in the trap. Like, I'm going to shut you down right there. Like, that's the first thing. Like, first rule, you just cook your drugs there. You don't even live there. So, and then they were saying that there was a secret entrance downstairs. Oh, my Lord. Downstairs, there was a secret entrance tunnel. That's how they were getting all of it. I think the craziest one I think I've heard is maybe Mad Greek. Just because of that, because that one's just been it's a newer one, and people
what's the new? I haven't heard that one.
Something about it. They were with the cartel. I think they're included in the cartel. Like they own the Mad Greek, but they're from I don't even know where they're from, but it's not even the right place. These people are from North Carolina or something. This lady, it's a one person that owns it. It's a lady, so it's not even a wife and a husband. But they keeps calling them a couple, and I'm like, it's not a couple. I looked it up. I googled her. Who owns Mad Greek? And her picture came right up on Fox News Nation. She was on there, or Fox News, because I think when, what's her name? Nancy Grace was in town.
Yeah.
She went in there and got an interview with her or something, just something like that. It was a short interview. And I was like, see right there, I just pulled it up. I think that one is the easiest one to debunk. And then when they just put in Joe Vidic, the guy that was at the food truck, the big guy with the can in his hand, he had it on his in his back of the video, him, was, people threw him in there, and I was just like, what? Yeah. And he actually, I'm going to say something about him. If you guys were following the case for any length of time and remember Joe, he did a TikTok over this story, a few of them, and he said that once Kohberger or whoever was arrested, the guy was arrested, because he got on there to defend Jack Showalter, hoodie guy. Right. He's he's I don't know the dude. He's but I met him that night right there. He's and he didn't leave with them. He was cool. He left around the other corner. He's and I'm going to delete these videos when the right person's caught. He's because I don't want this fame. I don't want this for me. And he has a daughter. She's little. And as soon as Kohberger was caught, I got on his TikTok because I was he got a lot of, views and stuff for that. And everything was gone. All the videos about this case was just he privated them or he got rid of them. I was dang, he really did. He was just he was cool with that. He knew they probably got the right dude. He's I'm out. He just wanted to take up for Joe or Jack. I thought that was nice.
I mean, let me just rewind really quick. I think, to say that they don't do drugs, and nothing to say anything against you chosen. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some experimentation going on, pot, but I think you're talking about in the sense of the level of drugs of a cartel take these pounds of cocaine and methamphetamines and and heroin. I think that's what you were kind of probably getting at.
I don't think I could do that.
So Harlot says a big part of the problem is grifting YouTubers on the mission to make people think that there was a cartel hit and BK a polite innocent boy who's being framed because conspiracy BS sells better than the fact. Absolutely. I mean, I do agree with that. I definitely do agree with that.
And that's they I don't know. It seems like they come in drones every big case and then they go out. As soon as stuff starts coming out that's truthful, like the trial will start coming out, stuff about the trial, more and more will come out and you'll see less. They might have a little bit more come in before they get a little less, but they'll definitely fade out. It seems like they fade out with every case.
So I'm going to take this tinfoil hat off because I think my head's going to bake like a Thanksgiving turkey. So I'm going to take that off and put my normal hat on. Oh my God, that was 15 minutes of hell, by the way.
Was it hot?
Oh my God, I'm sweating with the damn thing on.
He's going to make a cake with that later.
Yeah, right. I mean, you don't even want to smell that thing right now. It's terrible. It's dripping with sweat. But yeah, so I mean, I think this leads me to like my next couple of questions. You know, why do you think that this case has caused so many conspiracy theories? And then, you know, why do you think this case has caused so much controversy? And you know, we'll just go around to the panel. I'll let Chosen start soon. Soon, I'll let you start first, and then you know, we'll go to Tanya.
This is going back to like how everyone is so deeply involved in this case, and it really, you know, hits home for a lot of people. And I think that they just want to know what happened, and they want to not think of the worst. You know, that only one person did this, but in reality, maybe, you know, more than one person did this, and we just don't know yet. So I think a lot of like the back and forth is just, you know, who wants to be right at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
Can
Thank you
repeat
so much.
Question?
Yeah, sure. Let me just recognize the super chat really quick. Simba just 64 just sent in a 199 super chat. It's a great panel tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. No, I just was asking, like, why do you think that so many conspiracy theories have popped up, and why do you think that this case causes so much controversy?
Conspiracy theories. I think it's maybe we don't have a lot of information given to us. I think, well, I mean, I think that we have so for the case, I think that we probably have enough. Like if this was, you know, any other case, we probably have more than maybe, because that PCA was pretty thick. Like it was 18 pages. That's pretty big for a PCA. But I think that with us, like delving into each piece, we're like literally nitpicking every word apart. People were like, you know, going through and they're just like, oh, that sentence is not right. Like,
why do you think
the whole document's gone? The whole document's bad.
Why? That's what I mean. But why do you think they're doing that? Why are they people being so polarized by doing this and
Entertainment?
digging every single detail and word? I mean, I've never seen this in any other case before. It's just crazy.
This is different. This is a lot different than any case I've covered. And I've covered a lot of big cases like Kylie Rodney, Quentin Simon. I mean, we had people that was crazy. You know what I mean? But this is like a whole new level. This is just so long. It's been going on for 7 months.
Yeah.
7 months.
But this could go on 7 years.
This could go on well, and I think that people will get sick. I mean, they haven't got sick of it yet, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it took before. It probably took me, like, I mean, like Lori Vallow, for instance, it took her 5 years to go to trial. People were not, they didn't know about Lori Vallow. Like when I came up on the scene, when I was doing stories, they weren't picking traction up like they would have been back when it first happened. You know what I mean? Like when it first happened, it was huge. It was all like nationwide. But now I don't know that after, like, then we only got the audio going into court, and I think that changed it a lot too for people. So I think that's going to happen with this case. Maybe eventually, maybe it'll you know, fizzle out a little bit. I thought when summer hit, it was going to fizzle out. I've been saying that since like the winter. I was like, when summer hits, people will go on vacations. They'll be with their family. They'll want out of the house. But it didn't really happen. I was wrong.
Go ahead.
They're just like dropping a lot of documents all at once at random times. So, you know, even if you forget about it, you know, or, you know, for a few days, all of a sudden you have all this in front of you to look at. And, you know, there's just a lot of information to go through.
There's a lot.
So Michelle says, I think the gag order caused the conspiracy theories. Why don't they just tell people the truth? Well, I think they are telling the truth, and I think that is in the legal documents. But you have two sides to a case. I mean, the burden's not on the defense. The burden is on the proof of the state to prove their case. And I think that they've been transparent through all this. I mean, we just saw it in the last hearing where the defense is challenged and said that they haven't gotten all the evidence. There are still some things that haven't concluded. And the state has no control over that. The state has no control of how long a lab takes to process or get a report and complete its investigation. They're just the state. They're not the lab. They're not the people doing the testing. And they handed over a lot of evidence to the defense. And in my opinion, I think the defense is just being very lazy and they don't want to go through it. You know, I think that's really what's happening here. I think you're muted, Tanya.
I was just saying, yeah. So I was like, I was agreeing.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's play a little like finish the sentence game. So
Okay.
I'm gonna read a sentence and let me just have you finish with this thought. So
You're
my
quizzing us over here. You guys think I'm bad. People in the chat, if you guys are from my channel and you think I quiz, I feel like I'm under this. I feel like we're getting quizzed a little bit.
Let me just get this real quick.
Okay,
Dory says, I
finish
think
this.
many people have personally been affected or at least known of some who has been affected. This is what I'm getting to. This is perfect. This is where I'm so glad that you brought this up, Dory. And I think you're dead on this because I was thinking about this before the stream. She says, I think people have personally been affected or at least known someone who has been affected by corruption along with the serious causes of mountain questions yearning to be answered. The mountain questions yearning to be answered. I think you're onto something here, Dory. I think COVID had a lot to do with this as well too. You know, essentially we were 3 years taken out of, you know, our environments. We were held to be in our house. That overwhelming of losing, you know, your freedoms and your I guess I wouldn't say power, but your freedom to go where you want without restrictions. You know, you had all these controversial things that we couldn't do. We couldn't go out. We had to stay in. We had to wear a mask. And then come to find out, we had to take vaccines. Well, we didn't have to take them, but you know, just all this stuff. And I think that it did change a lot of public perception on authority and government as well too. But everything is not like that in life. Everything is not a fucking conspiracy theory. It's not.
No,
There are truth in things, believe me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I mean, there is truth in things, but you know, you gotta read into it. You can't just listen to what someone's telling you. That's why I say, you know, read through these documents. When we drop the link, go on there and see for yourself. You know, believe me, I knew hardly anything about case law, and I've learned so much about it through this case and reading those documents and lining things up and researching. Like, okay, what is, you know, whatever, Article 101 and for Idaho law, what does that mean? You know, granted, we're not experts, but we can figure it out. You know, we can try to figure it out. So I'm sorry, I went on kind of like a random tangent there.
We need a lawyer in the group.
We do. We need a lawyer in the group. And Peter Tragos, if you're watching, lawyer, you know, I've always welcomed you over the channel.
I watched him earlier today, actually, because he'd went over the grand jury stuff.
Yeah.
It was like a short video, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, I just urge people really look into this because I think this is just a lot more cut and dry. I think when it comes through that, I just think it's going to be like that. I don't think it's going to be, you know, Jim and Danny and Wendy are involved. And, you know, I don't feel that. I don't see it. So.
Yeah, I don't either.
So anyway, I didn't get to ask this question. So my recent thought about this case is, and I'll go to Tanya first. My most recent thought about this case is
how ridiculous people can be. No, my recent thoughts. I mean, I don't. Other than what we've been talking about tonight, I don't even.
I have a good one. So I'll wait for everybody.
You can go. You want to go first? You want to go first, Brian, or Chosen?
Chosen, go ahead. I think you frozen. Chosen might have frozen.
No, I'm good. I was just thinking.
You want me to say mine? And we can maybe talk about that. Hey, I didn't know there was so many DNA experts out there. Because everybody in my comments is like, oh no, this is the way it is, and this is how DNA is, you know, the touch DNA doesn't mean anything. They're never gonna find anything, blah, 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 blah. Speaking of that, let me just pull this article up really quick. This is an article I found out of Las Vegas, and it reads, Vegas police solve 32-year-old crime cold case with the smallest amount of DNA evidence to date. So it can happen. It doesn't, you know, a small amount of touch DNA can prove. Now, granted, I am not saying that Brian Kohberger is guilty You know, he's obviously innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. We give him due process, but cases have been solved with a small, and that's the thing. Everybody's like, it's only a small amount and it's touched.
It's enough.
Okay, how did it get there? How did it end up on that bed? You know, and then everybody's like, oh, well, he was framed. Okay, so that would mean that the police had to have known Brian months before this, somehow captured his DNA somewhere, brought it over to a knife chief and said, guess what? In whatever, 6 to 8 months, we're going to go in and commit this violent murder, and then we're going to conveniently walk over to the bed and nicely, gently place this knife sheath with Brian Kohberger's DNA on it next to the 2 dead victims. It's impossible for that to happen.
Yeah.
It's impossible for that to happen.
It's an octillion amount.
It's an octillion amount. And I'll drop that link to this case if anybody's interested in reading about it. I'm not going to go into the full case, but I just wanted to bring up this article for, you know, just a point that small amounts of DNA can be used in cases.
They're saying, like, what was there, like 20, like maybe skin cells or 16, but there only needs to be 7 or 8 to do a test. So you can do 2 tests on that. 3 tests.
Yeah, and I think that case right there was only 15.
Yeah.
If you just bring that back up. It was.
But and we're only hearing that. Yeah, and we're hearing that from, I think, Howard Bloom. So don't take me for that. You know what I mean? Like the skin cells. I don't think it says in the documents how many.
Yeah, we're not experts. We're just, you know, we're giving opinions. But, you know, I mean, how do we explain that? You know, that's where I don't understand is everybody goes, what was some of the comments today? They're like, touch DNA is so iffy and this and that. And I'm like, okay, why? Then that's what I want someone. I just want someone.
Like, you can't shake someone's hand and then go touch that object and their DNA get on it. Like if you look it up, you physically have to come into contact with the object for it to be touch DNA. I've argued with people about this all day and all year. It feels like in my chat, but I mean, like, I went to school for criminal justice. I know a little bit, and what I don't know, I look up. So with DNA, because I'm like, you know, it's been like 11, 12 years or something since I was in school. So it's been a while. So I looked it up. And because I know that there is like transfer and stuff like that. But even with that, it's all touch, transfer, and like another one of them, I forget what it's called. They're all, you have to physically like come in contact with it. Like his finger had to come into contact with that button sheet. Not his finger touched someone else's finger and they went and touched that button, you know, and like transferred his DNA, like 20 cells over there. That's not usually how that works. You know what I mean? Like you just doing that.
But that's what I'm trying to figure out. I need someone to just come on my panel or call this show sometime, and I'm going to start taking calls again. I need someone to tell me, how did that sheath get on that bed with his DNA on it? How did that happen? This is what pisses me off.
I know how he did it. I know how it probably happened. Do you know the real reason? I think.
Sure.
Because I think that he didn't have gloves on when he went to put the knife into the sheath. So I think that he took the buckle and he unbuckled it, and that's how his DNA got there when he put it back on or whatever he did. And then he probably put the gloves on, cleaned everything down, and then realized, you know what I mean? Like, didn't even think about that he touched the button snap. Do you know what I mean? With his finger, when he wiped everything down, he probably just didn't wipe in that area.
Yeah.
Like, probably didn't pull it open that and get in that area. And it's going to be protected if it's closed. If it's inside the button snap, because that's what it sounds like. It's like on the inside of the button snap.
Yeah, that's where they found it.
Yeah,
but I had a K-bar knife here, and I did a demonstration of how you open that snap. You open that snap, you're opening it with probably this part of your thumb, where if you look, even if you just look during the day, there's little skin cells that are there that are always shedding around your fingernails. And your fingernails yourself. I mean, that's how I would say. And he probably had it and was playing with the fucking knife too. You know, like if it was him, I'm just saying, if it was Brian, I'm sure he didn't just buy the knife and let it sit on his desk for 8 months and then went and did you know, whatever. I'm sure he played with it and tried to figure out how the hell could I pull this out or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
And I my God. I think he got overwhelmed. I don't know if he was meant to like come in contact with Kaylee where he did, or you know what I mean? Personally, that's me, and I think that's why the sheath was left. I think it was like a mistake. Like,
so Ivy says,
whoever left it.
Well,
allegedly.
Ivy says, "Oh my God, now you're giving the conspiracy theory channels. They're gonna say that Bethany and Dylan's put it with the sheath there." Yeah, probably.
I think a lot of
Well,
it has
now,
to do
well, go ahead.
with
Were you gonna say Chosen?
just real quick. I was going to say a lot of it has to do with people that just don't, or it's hard for them to understand that one person could do this crime.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like you're saying with that K-bar knife, man. Like you go in a house and do some very terrible things quickly. Like 10 minutes is a long time to be in that house. I'm just saying.
That is a long
Well,
time. And
I've
that's what we were
had
doing on my
one.
channel today. We were going over the timeline because I'm like,
Yeah.
people were saying 5 minutes. I'm like, he wasn't in there 5 minutes.
Yeah,
A
I mean,
little more
I've
time
had
than that.
one. Yeah, I've had one, and uh, I've held it in my hand. It is a very, very sturdy knife. It is a killing machine. That's what it's made for. I mean, it was made for
That's exactly right.
hand on hand combat in World War II. It's what it was made
Yeah.
for. It's not made to break. It's not made to snap. It's a hell of a killing machine, and it won't take much to just,
Not at all.
if you wanted to, or
Yeah.
plunge that into someone. Believe me.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? It was an 8-inch or 6-inch blade.
They're
I mean,
very
it says
long.
in there, sharp as hell. And just even the butt of it could be used like a fucking hammer. You could probably build a house with the butt of that knife.
Yeah.
That's how big that knife is.
Wow. I looked it up, but it didn't. I thought it weighed more. I think it said 0.7 pounds. I mean,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I
have.
mean, a pound's pretty heavy.
You
But
have one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh
definitely
yeah,
very-
because you're in the EDC,
Are-
right?
is that
Yeah.
heavy?
Yeah.
it,
Oh yeah.
it is very
Is
heavy,
it? Okay.
very heavy.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure
And
because I'm like thinking a pound. I don't know if that would be like if you're wielding it around or,
For steel,
you know,
yeah, for it being like
yeah.
steel, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah. That makes
Um,
sense.
so I found this interesting.
Now I feel
I
like I
put a
need
poll
one.
up at the very beginning of the chat. Before the stream, 149 votes, and I asked, do you read through the legal documents in the Brian Kohberger case? 65% say yes, and 35% said no. Do you think that's where maybe some of this misguidance or misinformation can be? Say you're not really reading through any of the documents. You're just going kind of on a YouTube channel to get information. You kind of get pulled into it because maybe it clicks with something, maybe you've seen on TV. I think a lot of these CSI shows probably don't help like real true crime as well too. And then I don't know, whatever other type of shows are out there that are like this. Maybe that's where some of this all kind of starts. You jump on a channel, you're kind of listening for a little bit. Oh wow, maybe that is a possibility, and not going through and really reading through these
Oh, I never
documents.
heard that before. Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh, wow, that's new. That must be good.
Yeah.
Right.
There's 1,000 people in the chat. That must be right. Or it's 500 people in the chat. That must be right. Because, I mean, people are getting the big chats even. Like, they'll have these people come in and they think, like, oh, they must be telling the truth because they've got so many people
Right.
in here.
Oh, that makes
And, like,
sense.
because and a lot
Yep.
of people will subscribe for that reason as well.
User
Like, if they see
perception.
that it's that, it's just, yeah, exactly. It's, if it's a bigger channel, if, I'd say anything over, especially if it's anything over 100,000 people, anything over
40,000.
100,000 people are just going to hit the button.
40,000.
You know what I mean? But anything over, like, anything about 30, I'd say 30.
38,000.
Yeah, 35,000. Yeah, because then you're like, well, what's going
100 in the
on
chat
here?
room consistently.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to go in there.
Amazing, huh? Yeah, I need that channel. But I don't know. Good stuff. So I think maybe that could be some of it too. It could be part of it, could be some of it. So right now, hang on, let me just recognize the super chat really quick. Lakota says, my theory is that this is a fantastic show, and thank you for your time and your great discussions. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Lakota.
That's so nice.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
So the three biggest topics around the case right now we've heard of is the lack of DNA, the 3 unknown sources of male or DNA that have found. I'm not sure if it's been proven it's male. I think it was, right? 3 other males. And then the touch DNA on the sheath. Do you think that these will personally become factors in this case? Do you think this is what's going to be really what the case is, the core of the case? Or do you think that there'll be some other stuff that come up? You don't think so, Chosen?
I don't think so. I mean, just everything that I've seen and read points to one person, without even the hint of a doubt pointing to someone else. So as they could find whatever they want. I mean, of course, there's going to be a DNA of off cigarette butts and this and that, and people go in the house. There's a party house. People, if they're drinking, and they weren't even the kids weren't even home half the time, so they don't even know what happened in their house. So
Right.
if they
Yeah.
find DNA, let's say male DNA in her bed, who's to say that something didn't happen at a party while they were out of the house? They don't know.
That's
They don't know
true.
what happened.
So I just want to get to this real quick before I get to Tanya. The easiest way to do that, run through CODIS. There you go. It clears everybody up. All right. We put the end to it. Just run through CODIS.
I think we would have heard of someone by now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think we would have heard of someone by now.
Yeah.
I think
that if it was anything that was worth anything, I think that they know. I think that the prosecution probably knows whose DNA it is. They might not have identified it to, because this is the document, they might not have identified it to the defense. But it doesn't say that it's like not been identified. It just hasn't been identified to them.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, with that being said, it could be like one, like their boyfriends, or it could be, just a random person that comes to the house.
Exactly.
Right.
But I think that they probably have a match for all of it.
Yeah, I think this would be a good segue right now. Brian Enton had an actually pretty excellent panel on his show the other day. It's about a 12-minute segment. Let's play through that because I think it's going to answer some of these questions that I just asked and give kind of like a state side and a defense side of where this could all go. And then maybe, if we need to pause, we can do that and talk a little bit about what's going on in the video. But I always enjoy his perspective, and he's been handling this case like a beast, like an absolute beast. So let's play through this.
For a long time. He goes outside for a real long time.
Let's play through this.
About the Exhibit A in the grand jury, part of the grand jury, where they're now saying that they will get to have Exhibit A. But the problem is we don't know what Exhibit A is on the outside because it's all sealed and secret. It's apparently something the defense really, really wants, though. Give us an idea, David. I mean, what could this Exhibit A actually be?
Well, it could be something, Brian, about the prejudice to the grand jury. What are the documents that are going to supposedly inform this motion for basically a change of venue of where the case ought to have been indicted? I do think that at the end of the day, Brian, this is going to be a Hail Mary. I don't think this is really going anywhere because the prejudice was not just in this small town. The prejudice was all over the country. People were fascinated with this case. And so I don't think there's any real difference in terms of the demographics or the exposure to supposed pre-grand jury publicity. And also at the end of the day, the grand jury just finds probable cause. The prosecutors shouldn't go into the grand jury without a belief and a conviction that there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But given that the standard for the grand jury is probable cause, and given the amount of evidence that backed that up, certainly beyond probable cause, that it was a murder filing and that it was murdered by Kohberger. I just don't see where this is going anywhere. I do think it's commendable that the judge is turning over the grand jury transcripts. As Sarah knows, in federal court, we have a heck of a time trying to get grand jury transcripts or records about the grand jury. Even though we can make quite a showing that they might be exculpatory, we have to show particularized need in the federal court, and the judges are reluctant to turn them over, no matter how much it would serve justice. So that's something that I think is commendable that they're being turned over. But I don't think, Brian, that this motion really is going to go anywhere. At the very most, they would get a new grand jury presentation in a broader area, in a different part of Idaho, and they would still return a grand jury indictment based on probable cause.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's arguing that this case has gotten an insane amount of media coverage, but Sarah, I mean, other cases have too. Michael Jackson, OJ, the list goes on and on. Is that really reason enough to throw out, this grand jury indictment?
No, it's not. But first, to your point that this is apples and oranges. This case is something else. It's on a whole other level. Brian Kohberger has been convicted of this quadruple homicide. He is facing the death penalty, and by the way, he's a serial killer. I mean, that's really how we've been talking about him in the media. So it is different than some of the other cases that you named. But media scrutiny is not enough to throw out a probable cause and a grand jury indictment. What they can attack is how the media scrutiny impacted the investigation. So looking at this investigation, it seems like they narrowed in, they honed in this massive investigation on Bryan Kohberger, and then they tried to use these other pieces of their investigation to fit that puzzle, sort of working backwards. I think that's where the media impact matters.
But when we talk about the media impact, I mean, this is our world. We're like obsessed with this stuff, right? And most of our followers are into it. Yeah. But like I had this interesting moment when I covered the Lori Vallow trial, and I was covering jury selection, and I was shocked like how many people didn't know anything about Lori Vallow. There are a lot of people that just don't watch the news, that don't really care, that don't, aren't on Facebook looking at all the true crime stuff. I mean, I wonder if we sort of overblow that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that given the little that we know, the irony here is that we have this true crime obsession that is leading courts to exclude cameras and issue gag orders. And then that then turns us into, large speculators, and we're spinning and we're creating facts, and we think we know him, and we think, everything that he's done in his life is looked at through the lens of guilt. That's really the problem here.
Let me ask you, David, if he, I hear that you say it's unlikely, but if he were to win the challenge to the indictment, what would happen next? I mean, would they have to have a whole other grand jury proceeding? Does that, I don't think I've ever heard of that happening. Does that actually happen sometimes?
Well, that could happen, but he would simply be indicted again by either a grand jury right there, or a grand jury in a different and broader venue, or, I don't know, a grand jury in Boise or something like that. I mean, this just is not a case where I think demographically there's going to be any difference. Sometimes there are cases where it's an all-white grand jury, and the argument is that somehow they've been selectively chosen from only one area within the district or division. I don't think that we have that here at all. So I think that this is going nowhere. Now, if something prejudicial was submitted to the grand jury, the judge could issue an order, don't submit that prejudicial item to the new grand jury. But trust me, Brian, this one is going nowhere in terms of determining the fate of this case or the fate of Kohberger.
Well, one thing, though, to David's point, number one, I also practice in federal court, but under Idaho, the Idaho Code, the grand jury materials should have been turned over. So by code, they should have been turned over. But in a grand jury, you also have to present exculpatory evidence. And we've heard a lot of references to exculpatory evidence in this case that ranges from the DNA of two other unknown males to the statement of Bethany Franke, who was a witness, to this IgG, investigative genetic genealogy materials that the defense believes ties in with the profile DNA.
Says Bethany Franke.
Oh my God.
And I remember she screws up too. And she says that the state is saying that this DNA evidence is nothing. She meant the defense. She says it pretty soon. It's kind of funny.
And is exculpatory. So, there could be a problem that they didn't present this exculpatory evidence, because there's a point of contention with this IgG, and the prosecution doesn't even believe it's admissible. They're not using it for probable cause. So it could be that because they're not using it for probable cause, and this is a probable cause hearing, that they didn't present it to the jury. And the defense thinks that's exculpatory.
It does seem in the recent filings, though, that we're starting to get a feeling for what his defense is going to be, at least at this moment. It seems like a lot of it does have to do with the DNA.
100%.
Ann Taylor is really questioning how all that genealogy and all of that, and how they actually found him.
Right. She's questioning it. She's consulted with experts. According to her declaration, the experts have told her that this is not just a standalone, different kind of like art or whatever the state is calling it. The state's saying it's not even a science. She's tying it in with the profile DNA. And so that goes to the reliability of the forensics in this case, and, and how they reach the conclusion of not just identifying Kohberger, but just sort of excluding anyone else that they should have investigated. Once they got the SNP, and then they did the tree, that the FBI did the tree. Yep. They stopped. I mean, the buck stopped there, and it was Kohberger.
Well, I mean, but his DNA was on the knife sheath. I mean, they did.
But that is touch DNA. So DNA is a huge point of contention in this case. It should not be taken lightly at all. And I think the defense strategy that I can see so far is it ain't him. I mean, remember, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It is entirely on the prosecution, and the defense, all they need to do is poke holes. And we're sitting here going, maybe he has an alibi. So what? Two things can be true. He may not have an alibi.
Yeah. Why have we not heard of it? If he has the alibi, why haven't we heard it yet?
Exactly.
Where is he? Where was he that time?
he may not be guilty. You know what I mean? So I think we look for that because it's more digestible and understandable. But at the end of the day, all the defense has to show is that they have not met their burden, and DNA is a big part of their burden.
Let me ask you, David, one of the issues that's come up with the DNA in this case is the defense wants the state to turn over all of the documents that the FBI has in relation to this ancestral DNA search that they did. They basically did this big family tree of Brian Kohberger, and that's how they eventually figured out that it was him, they say. And so far, the state hasn't wanted to turn it over, saying, look, these are extended relatives.
That's a
They
good
have nothing
point,
to do
Ellie.
with the case. And at the end of the day, we had the match from the knife sheath. Do you think that they should have to turn that over?
We thought back in the day too, when they went into search warrant Brian Kohberger's apartment, Ann Taylor went there and they took pictures and photos of his apartment when they went in. You know why they wanted to do that? Because they were going to show him what possibly was taken or what they were looking for in there. We were thinking that's where he was going to try to come up with some type of alibi, or he wanted to see what items they took. And another thing I have an issue with too is in one of the police reports, and I forget who said it, but Ann Taylor took a box out of that plate out of his apartment with a bunch of like small trinkets and stuff in it, without one of the police officers actually getting a chance to look inside that box.
Yeah.
So, everybody sits here and says, oh, the prosecution, they're shady, they're playing shady. Well, guess what? The defense has done things in this case too that have been pretty, in my opinion, pretty, shady. So if you want to play that, we can play both sides.
Yeah. And she went in after talking to Brian Kohberger, and he told her to go in. So.
Right. He told her to go in and they took photos of everything.
I mean, like, remove something. I think that's why she went in there, because he told her to remove it.
They removed the box.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that's why Ann did it. I don't think like she knew to go in there to do. I think he was like, go in there and get it.
Yeah. So what's in that box? Why haven't we heard about it? What's the contents of that box?
What you hiding, Brian? What you hiding, BK?
I mean, do you think that's a big deal?
What do you got?
They should have to turn that over. They should have to turn over all the methodology. That can be done under protective order, so that anybody in the family who thinks that their privacy might be, impugned or invaded, won't happen, because there'll be an ironclad protective order that the lawyers will observe. But I just did want to say about the fact that he may have an alibi and there may be other suspects and so forth. I believe that as long as the DA believes in this case, my point was the grand jury indictment that you asked me about, that I believe that the grand jury, if the DA wants to bring the case and they believe in it, even if this indictment got thrown out, even if there should be exculpatory evidence that wasn't presented to that grand jury, that would be ordered to be presented to the new grand jury. My point was just that a grand jury would indict this case. Then, of course, when you get to the trial phase and the motions, of course, all the exculpatory evidence, all the Brady information should be turned over, must be turned over. And this DNA, every single bit of it, every bit of the work that they did, every bit of the experts' analysis has to be turned over to the defense attorney, so that there's a fair trial, and so that they can do their own examination, including get a little piece of the DNA, so that they can have their independent or defense examiner investigate, look at it, do the same test that the prosecution or the FBI did.
Yeah,
I love a prosecutor who crosses over to the right side. Okay, I just do. But
well, I do think there's this misconception, though, that everyone thinks that everything's going to be out there at this point. I mean, sometimes stuff doesn't come out till trial.
Absolutely.
I mean, we don't.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I've been saying this for months. This is the thing. Everybody just thinks that this is it. This is what we're going to go to trial. This case is constantly being worked on. There's new evidence that constantly comes up. There's probably stuff that's been sitting on a backlog for 3 months that we haven't even heard about yet, and they will bring it to trial. That's the thing, is everybody just jumps to conclusions and goes, oh, well, this is it. You don't know if they have fucking video evidence of him walking in and out of the house. We don't know that. We don't know if they have the knife. I think they do, but we don't know. We don't know if we have his clothes or DNA on those clothes or whatever. I mean, there's other things that are going to come out. I mean, there's over 10,000 photographs or something. So I mean, there's hours and hours, 51 terabytes of video and audio. Yeah. I mean, come on, there's got to be something there,
You don't have to have everything in the documents yet.
Absolutely. And to David's point, I was digging up this whole, this it just wasn't settling with me that the state is not turning over this FBI stuff, as
What's
David
News
said they
Daddy?
should.
We always says News
And
Daddy. What is
the
that?
FBI, under certain circumstances,
What's News Daddy?
That's
Am I
Brian Clinton's nickname.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's what they call him, News Daddy? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
asks for NDAs from local law enforcement when they are involved in investigations. They don't want their methodology out there. So they ask. So I
Interesting.
wonder.
I didn't know that. That's
Me neither. I just learned. And so I wonder whether there's an NDA in this case. And
Very
that's why the state's just like, has a death grip on it.
I wouldn't be
They want
surprised. They
to
want everything to be secret. I mean, I
Right.
wouldn't be surprised. Just real quick, we only have 30 seconds left. I'm curious, Sarah, do you think it's strange that nothing about motive has come out yet on either side in any of these filings? We've heard all sorts of stuff, DNA, but we haven't heard yet why.
Right. And, we better hear why. I think every juror wants to know why, even though motive is not an element of murder or any crime. What is this connection? I mean, so far the connections we've heard of have been really just, nothing burgers, that he followed two of the girls on social media. So what? I mean, I follow a lot of people I don't even know I'm following, so they need an explanation, and they really need to. I think the lack of evidence matters as much as the presence of evidence matters. And when we're talking about exculpatory, it's not just the presence, it's also the absence.
Yep.
There is not a single bit of biological matter anywhere that, in his car or anything. And people are saying he cleaned up, but there's no evidence of a cleanup.
But you are a defense attorney. That's your job to find those parts.
What's that?
She said that there's no evidence of a cleanup.
Yeah. How do we know that? We don't know yet.
How
Well,
does she
there
know?
is. I mean, they've seen him do it, but we've, I guess he's been observed doing it. But how does she know? She doesn't
This
know
lady's
that.
talking like she's, the judge over here.
Yeah. That's where I think a lot of this misinformation can start too, with panel guests. You got to think she's probably not thinking about this case 24 hours a day like we are. They just jump on and say, "Hey, we're going to talk Brian Kohberger," and then they just, just whip these things. She did make some other statements about the evidence about who was saying at the state and the defense as well too, which she was wrong on. But to go back what she's saying, I mean, how do you know? You don't know if there's been evidence of killing up. We don't know yet.
I mean, just wait until we see all of the digital evidence on his computers, his cell phone. Everything is going to light up like a Christmas tree, like it pointing towards this one guy.
Yeah.
Just can't wait for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you read the probable cause,
I'm not looking for biological matter.
No, but there's a lot there, though. I mean, with the cell phone data, the cell phone being turned off.
I'm talking about forensic. I'm talking about biological matter from force lanes.
But maybe he just knew how to clean up.
Can you explain? I'm just going to ask this, Karen. Can you explain why his DNA showed up on the knife sheath next to two dead victims? That's one thing people have not explained to me yet. How did that knife sheath? If they don't think Brian Kohberger did this, okay, I'm gonna pose this question to everybody, and maybe later on in this you can, if you think that Brian Kohberger has no involvement in this case, completely absolved, has nothing to do with this, someone please down in the comments explain to me how his DNA ended up on a knife sheath next to two dead victims in a house on a bed. Please explain that to me. I don't have an explanation for it other than he must have been there and put it there.
And no, they weren't sleeping with it. Someone said that. Like someone was like, maybe it was in the bed when they went to sleep.
Even if
he
they
left
were
it there the night before, and I'm like, no.
Really well.
But see, in the state's papers, the state says there is no explanation for this lack of.
That's where she's wrong. It's the defense that said that.
Explanation for this lack of evidence.
I'll back that up.
There, though. I mean, with the cell phone data, the cell phone being turned off.
I'm talking about forensic. I'm talking about biological matter from force lanes.
But maybe he just knew how to clean up really well.
But see, in the state's papers, the state says there is no explanation for this lack of evidence, and cleanup
The defense said that. She's wrong.
So that's what I'm saying. If there was a cleanup, we would have learned something about
there was
a
the
cleanup.
defense said that in their last report.
Whatever.
Rejection.
And so that's the problem. It's like 8 hours later they show up. This is a party house. We don't know who was there. And the house, all they get is a latent footprint. What is he hopping or he's one-legged? I mean, one latent footprint. And
what's that?
the way that she's talking right now is just so off-putting. It's
Well, she's a defense attorney.
you know, she's kind of like jumping around. She's like, "What did he do? Hop on one leg across the whole house?"
But that's what
Yeah.
defense attorneys do. They misdirect.
Yeah.
What?
That's their job, is
Yeah.
to misdirect the jury.
She also said that we're like social media is calling him a serial killer. We never called him that.
No,
Mass murderer, buddy.
exactly.
That's what this is. I probably have called him that because I probably didn't put allegedly before it a couple times.
Tsunami.
I forget
peg leg
sometimes. Sue me if you don't go to prison for the rest of your life, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully you don't, though.
This lady got her
Tsunami.
tinfoil hat.
Yeah. Tsunami says the peg leg killer.
So bad.
Let's see. And then Dr. Bob says, but cleanup narrows the timeline even more. So here's my thing. It looks like a leather knife sheath, but why not DNA all over it? Maybe he wore gloves. And like Tanya was saying, that one time he slipped up and took the gloves off or whatever.
Tried to clean that thing very well, but obviously he just left some behind because he didn't examine it under a microscope and this and that.
Right.
Tried to use naked eyes. It looked okay,
Yeah.
but it's very hard to leave a crime scene without leaving something behind.
You're gonna leave something.
You gotta
Believe me.
leave
Today's technology, you're gonna leave something. I mean,
Yeah.
100%.
can you imagine like what 30 years ago, 35 years ago, they didn't really use DNA evidence at all? How many crimes people just got away with? You imagine like the 40s and 50s, people just went in, bah, 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 just shoot people and just walk out, and that's it. You would
So
never
really
get caught.
No
On
camera.
the same token, though,
Why the mob
remember
got
they
away
used to
with so
do
much shit.
Circumstantial evidence, though. That's what they used to have to work with.
Yeah.
And now people are like, all they have is circumstantial evidence. It's like, this
Yeah,
is CSI
right.
Miami. You know what I mean? Like, we're not in a TV show right now. What are you talking about? That's what
Yeah.
True.
the circumstances that are surrounding the event that happens makes it not so circumstantial, That's why a lot of people don't believe in circumstances. After a couple, it's like, well, how many
Yeah.
more can they, get away with?
So I was thinking, just real quick, and I probably think all your answer to this. Do you think the state has more evidence we haven't seen yet? Absolutely. I think so.
I think
100%.
so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And then I was just thinking today about like the OJ verdict. I was looking up. I was like, I wonder how many people actually watched that. It was 150 million viewers. I would say
That's a
this,
lot.
and I'll probably say this, and probably state a. I'll go out there and on a limb and say this. I think that if this goes to trial, and we get to the end where there's a verdict, this will probably be one of the most watched verdicts of all time. I think it will be OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot of people
definitely
too,
a lot
yeah.
of people.
I think that yeah. Especially because there's Twitter now that could be streaming that. There's TikTok that people be on to watch that. That's a billion people right there. I mean, like,
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, I mean, all the platforms.
Facebook.
For sure. For sure.
So Candy's asking, let's talk live podcast. Do they have the receipt for the knife? They have the receipt for the knife, correct?
I know
Well,
they
they
pulled
have
the records for
they
Amazon.
pulled records, right?
Yeah,
I
but
think
that's
there's a
all I've seen.
rumor out there, which was the Dateline
the
episode.
Dateline,
episode.
yeah.
That was just
yeah.
that guy saying that they had it, but
Yeah.
I've never seen anything suggesting
I
that
haven't
it
seen
was
it either.
any
Yeah,
evidence.
but I did see the paperwork today because I looked it up just to make sure that they I thought that they had got it for like Amazon as well, but I wasn't like completely for sure.
There's-
So I went back through and they did, and I think it was
eBay.
for him as well. Yeah, and eBay. Yeah,
too. Like, why would the police for eBay, if you look back at the document, take only maybe 5 or 6, usernames and get warrants for those? It's very
Yeah.
strange to me.
It is strange how some of them are like everybody looks like they're listed, and then others they're not.
Yeah.
Or like certain people are listed.
You just make a
Yeah.
phantom account and you buy what you have to buy and then delete it. Maybe that's what he was doing the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, I said something that and this was like way back. I was like, wow, the eBay stuff. I wonder if like he sold it on eBay afterwards to just get rid of it. That kind of thought. You don't think
Yeah.
so? You don't
I
think
don't
so?
know. You could have.
No.
Could
Possible.
have. Shit.
Possible, but I think that he kept it. I think he felt like he needed to keep it for his own.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I feel like they're going to find it or they found it. I don't
There's
know.
been some speculation that that they think that some people were saying, the conspiracies were saying that he drove back with it to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think
I
heard
think
that.
so, and they think that it was actually under the seat of the car, like when he got pulled over.
I mean, he
You know,
could have. That's his comfort spot, probably.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times, like your home or your car, it gets you away from things. You know what I mean? Like it puts that separation between you, and he's probably
Right.
putting all those separate. Those miles are separating him,
like
so
you
he's
saw
probably feeling better.
yeah,
Further
like
he's
Tanya,
getting
you saw
away.
his eyes, like in the police stop on the side of the road.
Oh,
Like those eyes were bugging out of his head. Like,
he was done after the second
Yeah.
stop.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think everything was in his trunk, like
Yeah.
one of those Dexter kits, and
Yeah,
everything.
he
was
could have had it all in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bring it back to PA because he knows that they're going to search his apartment. He knows, the police are going to look in his what is that storage room. So of
Oh,
course
Yeah.
he's
yeah.
not gonna do it there. Of course he's not
Yeah.
going to do it there.
No, I know people made a big deal about that. And I'm like, they're talking about cobwebs in there, guys. I don't think there was anything in the storage room. Like they're talking about like a layer of dust on the floor. Like, didn't even look like he had his Christmas tree or anything in there.
But they even took DNA from not DNA. I'm sorry. They took samples from like even the mop head that he had, like the
Yeah.
dust mop.
Yeah, they were messing around when
Yeah,
they
everything.
executed the search. They did. They got a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't think he had a lot to take, but they took what he had.
They couldn't
A
take
lot
the
of digital, it seems like, because when we were going through the PCA, the search warrant for his parents' home for the 138 items or 39 or 40, 148 some items or something
Yeah.
on it. Well, I made Vincent to help me decode that because some of that stuff isn't actual electronics, it's the boxes for the electronic. So like one will be listed as the box and then it'll be listed as the electronic underneath of it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, that's just the box. So
Interesting.
they did get a lot, but I don't think it's a lot. I mean, I don't think it's as much as people think, but it's still a shit ton. I mean, it's still a lot. It was still like hard drives, motherboard, a couple computers,
That's a
one
lot of
medical
computers.
computer, medical
That's a lot
grade
of
computer.
computers.
Yeah, no, definitely a lot, but I noticed on some of them they were actual boxes. Maybe I can send the document to you,
Yeah.
Ryan, so you can read it because we did
Yeah.
like 1 through whatever. Because I knew the clothes, like most of them were clothes or it was computer stuff, and I'm like, I don't know computer stuff. Here, I know clothing though, so I can understand like what it said, like when it said like Under Armour and stuff of those nature. But remember, the guy was writing it in the beginning. He was cool when he wrote like number 1 knife, and then
Yeah.
by the time he got to like number 38, he was just like done. His hand was like, yeah, he was. I think he was writing with his like non-dominant hand at that point. It was so bad.
Right with his
So
toe.
it literally took us like hours to decode it, but we got through it. I was like, we got to get through this by the live tonight. So we did
Yeah.
it. But I'll have to figure out where I put it.
So
It's
Beautiful
also
is just
too.
correcting us. She
That
said,
also
you
makes-
misunderstood. I'm sorry. Yeah, Beautiful's correct. You know you misunderstand the warrants for the knife. The warrants are for all sales from all different sellers on the warrants. Emily D. Baker explained this. Thank you. Thanks for clearing that up. Again, like, look at to remember everything in this case, it's almost virtually impossible. I mean, I don't take notes. I just go to this notebook up here and, listen, I don't
I
get
take
everything.
notes. I don't know why I do. I never use them. I take them all the time. And then I'm like, oh yeah, my notes at the end of the live. I'm like, oh yeah.
So the donut,
I love the donut.
Lionel says it's a nice glazed donut. God, that is like the funniest picture.
It's
That's
so
hilarious.
funny.
It's beautiful. Very glazed. She says they say papers will be written for college criminology studies. Kohberger will finish his thesis for the PhD, either a free man or a man on death row inmate. That's actually a really good point. Yeah. It's a really good point.
But if he's on death row, he won't get paid for it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Because they already sold his book. They already sold the book to James Patterson. James Patterson's like writing the book. Yeah.
What if?
I mean, he's already written like a million others. I'd want him to write my book if I like, you know what I mean? And like Kaylee was into true crime. She probably would feel the same way. Like, I mean, like, I'm just saying, I'm going to go like allege and say that because I like them as an author and he's been getting a lot of crap for that. And if someone's going to pick up the story and I think tell it, it should be someone like him that has some taste for the victims, unlike Howard Bloom, that called the girls blonde, pretty. I don't know his exact words, but it wasn't good. It was like weird to me. So,
What if he reached out to Kathleen Ramsland? from the jail.
Maybe that's why she's not talking.
Well, she said that she hasn't had any contact with them. She
Has
said in her most recent interview, yeah, she hasn't had any
Okay.
contact.
Has she
And
been
I think
interviewing?
Carrie Rawson would know that as well too. I mean, obviously, she would be tweeting about it
Yeah.
because I've had some pretty good tweet exchanges with her, and
Because she really shut it down as soon as, like, I mean, she didn't come out. I mean, she was like, bye. I was like, oh. Like she
I
was,
asked her a long time ago when I first was getting started if she wanted to come hang on the channel, and she's like, oh, I'm kind of finishing my second, but she was very kind. So I'm kind of finishing my second book right now. I'm going to be going through a big, thing getting that done. But she did, it was weird. She, after that, maybe a couple weeks or months later, she actually favored my like she listens to the podcast, my podcast, like she favored it. And I thought that was kind of cool. So
that's really nice. Yeah. Yeah. That's really awesome. That's nice.
Yeah. So
I've seen her on TV a lot. For true crime, shows. And then when this case happened, I was like, wait a minute, I know that lady from like ID channel or whatever. Like she's been on like that, and I think Oxygen, maybe even like one of the major like Dateline or 2020 or maybe one of the major ones too. But I know I've seen her on the other ones before.
So I had a comment come up today that said, I totally disagree with you, as you can already probably tell. If you re-research genetic testing, you would know exactly why they want to see the work. Fluid is hard to form on a family tree. Touch DNA is very iffy with these tests. That's exactly why they hired an expert, because she knows all of this. Prosecution's not showing the work should say a lot, especially with no other DNA found. These are court documents Ann Taylor cannot just put in false information to make their client look good. She's a good lawyer. She's not going to ruin her reputation, falsify court documents for Brian Kohberger. She's basically asking all the evidence that was in the PCA and all the work for the touch DNA. In math class, we never get credit for work that's not shown. And I responded, I just said, well, if the DNA is iffy, how did this iffy DNA get on the sheath? If the DNA, in your opinion, is so irrelevant, and the prosecution can't get credit for not showing their work, like in math class, then why would the defense need to hire a DNA expert that took this DNA expert took on a whole police station to explain this iffy DNA away?
Man, I feel like that person might have copied and pasted that on my same freaking a video of mine. Because what was the last bit of that? The math part. The math part. Someone did that. They said if you don't show your work in math, I'm looking at my comments. I'm trying to find it. But I don't think I'll be able to find it. But man, I know someone wrote that on my comment too. I feel like.
Wow.
And then I got a couple other ones. They hate this new podcast. I love the old one. You were so believable and you seem so very honest. Okay.
Wonder what the difference is.
The name change. That's it. Nothing. I took the Google laptop and changed my name. That's it. Maybe I need to wear this. Is this better? Yeah. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe this. This makes it better. Does this make it better?
There we go. That makes it better.
Yeah, Dylan says, tell them we're not in math class.
I know. I said that. Who was that? They might even be in here. It was it was Avery. She brought us a math problem into my live, and I said, we don't do math here, honey. I don't know what you're like. It was like, if this train's going to this, it wasn't even just some simple math either. There was like some algebra stuff, and I'm like, you better. What is this? I was like, I'll give this to Vincent to do. I forgot to have him do that math problem. That was months ago.
Oh yeah, Patrick's very good. He says this. There's a certain YouTuber that wrote that. I've heard them repeat it 100 times. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Danielle says, I love the tinfoil hat and the glasses. Listen, if anybody has any questions, let's take a couple questions for a little bit, and then we'll wrap this up. I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time this evening, because I want to thank for Chosen jumping on the panel. We love when he comes over here and hangs out. He's obviously one of my moderators, and to support this channel. I really appreciate you, man. And actually, in Tanya, like our new kind of friendship, YouTube friendship.
Yeah.
I'm glad for having you come over here. We watch your channel. We really love what you do. You have great work over there. Obviously, I know probably everybody in this chat tonight watches you as well. But if you haven't, go over and show some love on the Titanium Built channel. Let's get her over to 10,000 subscribers. She's super coming close to it, and we'll definitely be there if you need some 10,000 celebration subscribers. I would love to take part in that, hang out.
That'd be great. Yeah, I told I think I said something about it on my live today. I was like, maybe I should just like not like I should just go live until I hit 10,000. Just like
That's
I'm
it.
not going to get off the live right now. Like I just
Yeah.
won't bathe or eat for days, whatever it takes. I said maybe the last like 100. Now I'm thinking about like maybe the last 20. We might be making fake accounts. After the last or after 8 hours or so, I'll be like, okay, everyone
You
make a fake
deserve
account.
everything. Your channel
Oh,
is
Yeah.
thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
really
that so much.
You're really good work, and you're honest about what you do, and that's why we support you, and that's why I ask you to come up on this panel, because I think we share the same vision in this trial: truth, justice. We want the victims to get justice, and listen, in the end of it all, again, Brian Kohberger is innocent until proven guilty, and if he is not guilty of this crime, then he needs justice as well, and then we have a lot of work to do to find out who did this.
And that's what Vincent made a good point about that. Actually, he said if Brian didn't do this because he was listening to the lives, he's been listening to him, and I think he's starting to he knows the case probably as much as anyone else, but
Sure.
I don't know. I think he's just starting to see it, and he said that if Brian didn't do this, then why aren't these creators, instead of just blaming innocent people, why aren't they going out and trying to find the person that actually did this? He's like, because they're bringing all these innocent people into this, but they're not actually going out and like doing the research. Because he listens to the lives with me, or like he'll see like one creator, they'll like, not one creator, but just like creators in general, like they'll make a video, and then if they mess up, they'll just make another video. Like they don't really correct their mess up, or if they do, they'll just like skim over it real quick, like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't do that, and like so on to the next. So he's been like picking up on that because he's like, wait a minute, didn't they just say this in their last video, like something different? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, he knows them by voice now. He don't even know them by picture. He just knows them by voice.
There's a lot of that going on. Lisa Clemens says, here's a theory. What if there's something that law enforcement has withheld from the public that explains the time lapse of the 911 call and what Bethany saw that puts the final nail in convicting Brian?
Yeah.
Sure. Plausibility.
I think that Bethany might know something. I don't know. Maybe she saw something out her window that night or the next morning.
We said on a stream back, and I love this. Just saying, says T-Rev wants his hat back. Why did he do a tinfoil hat stream? Did he do one? I'm told. I don't watch him that much, but the last couple. Yeah, I've been jumping in a little bit and watching him lately. I sent him out a super chat the other day. I really love that he's really, I wouldn't say like jumped on this train, but he's been very noble in his search for all of this too. And I have to commend him. And his show's awesome. He takes live calls. He knows, he's just so good with that. That's his shtick.
He's real good with people.
Very good with it. He's good at the live calls. And again, check out T-Rev. If he ever wanted to come over and hang out, I would welcome him over here, and we'd do something with him. I like his gig. He's got a good gig over there. Let me just get to the super chat really quick. Oh, someone else said something I wanted to pull up. Led with Love says, where do people get the impression it was touch DNA or an incomplete profile? Yeah, they never really said that. I think it's just in the sense of that where they found the actual DNA on the knife sheath, and I think a lot of it is, excuse me, I think a lot of the media has been saying that too. It's touch DNA. It's touch DNA. We really don't know. We really don't know. Delana says, I'm feeling new here.
Biological, then that's even worse.
It's worse
for him. You know what I mean? Like if that's spit, that's blood. Yeah,
blood, semen, spit, anything like that, you're in trouble.
We don't even know what else they found in the house. That's his DNA.
Exactly.
They only talked about the knife sheath DNA. So
yeah.
Well, the defense hasn't said that his DNA is not in the house.
Right.
So I mean, it's saying it's not in the car. It's not. They never said that. So it's not in their documents. So they have not, and I think T-Rev was actually talking about that the other day too. They have not said that. They're just trying to explain that, explain it away. So Kelly D says, I love you, beautifuls. You make my addiction to truth and justice a lot stressful and a ton of fun. Yeah, that's usually what this is. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Great job tonight, Tanya, Chosen. Brian, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let me get to the super chat with Kusami. Most of these YouTube creators are ex-law enforcement or already convicted felons.
That's why they're so good. The convicted felons part is why they know the law so well.
Yes.
Gotcha. That's why because I'm I'm like, some of these legal documents are just too much for me. I'm like, we're going to be skimming over these today because some of them are repetitive, but I always read them all, except for today was the first time. I think there was like 8 documents that dropped and I read over like 2, but that was really only the grand jury stuff that came out that was worth anything. It was, rest of it was just the states ask you to, seal that, and the defense asked you to seal that, like, and redact that. It was just like back and forth. So I was like, yeah, let's just have a break from all the legal paperwork. 'Cause they have been dropping a lot on us lately.
Oh, they have, yeah, and I think it's just going to keep getting crazier and crazier now.
It is, yeah.
Now that now the case is starting to get closer, which I still don't think it's going to happen in October, but we'll see. So if anybody has any questions, why don't you do this? Drop a Q and then type your question, and it can just be for anybody on the, just throw it out there for any of us. We'll try to answer the best we can. Mika has a question, says, another question I have: to everyone who believes Brian Kohberger is guilty, how would you truly feel if you had your heart set on him being guilty and he's not the killer, and the killer is still running around? How would you feel? Why don't we do this? I'm going to go to Chosen first. How would you feel?
I would feel that I would just be confused of why someone would still be sitting in jail, though, for this amount of time. So, and I definitely, at the end of the day, want whoever committed this to serve justice and come
right.
And regardless if it's BK or not, I think that if it's not BK, then I feel bad for him in the aspect of his life is going to be, tied to this case forever. And if he's innocent, then, it's going to be hard for him to just go, even in public, just due to the notoriety of the case. So.
100%. Let me just recognize this really quick before I ask Tanya that same question. Summer actually gifted a membership. I appreciate you so much. Praying Paula actually got the membership. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm sorry I didn't recognize it. And thank you, Dr. Bob, for pointing that out. There was something else that just came up. There was someone that is a member of Rookie Detective. They used their 2-month membership. So we want to celebrate Terry Dean. Terry Dean, thank you so much for being a 2-month member of the channel. She said, True Crime Realist Unites. Thank you so much. And I just want to pull up this $10 super chat really quick. I got another super chat that I forgot to pull up. Let's see. Where is it? I think I might have already got it. $10 super chat from Led with Love says, appreciate you answering my question. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your super chat. We appreciate that. Thank you. So yeah, I'm going back to that question about how would you feel, Tanya, with so much invested in this, if we found out that Brian Kohberger was innocent in the trial, how would you feel?
If he was innocent, like he really is innocent. Then well, shit. If he's innocent, then we're all going to feel pretty bad that he's been sitting in jail for 7, or it'll be way over 7 months after that. Because my heart goes out to anybody that sits in jail for 1 second that doesn't belong in jail.
Right.
But at the same time, we're waiting on the alibi. But if he's innocent, I would feel extremely bad. I would feel bad for him. But I think this could actually work in his favor. We're living in 2023 now. This ain't 1980s where, they might be condemned for, supposedly being an M-worder. He could be, if he's innocent, he might be Mr. Everyone loves Brian Kohberger now, because there's all these subreddits with these women flocking to them. They have subreddits they've shut down. They have subreddits that spell his name like you, so they can stay in business. They kicked me out of that one. I was in the back door of one of them. I was like, I got in. They approved my request, and then 6 weeks later, I wasn't even on there. I didn't even use the content. I kept forgetting, and then I went on there one day and it was gone. They were like, they must have figured out who I was. I was like, oh, dang it. But yeah, they're spelling their name Brian's Girls, but BRI, instead of BRY.
How I spell mine.
And they did, and they did it on purpose. That way they wouldn't get found out as fast. And they're still floating around. But yeah, so I think that it could work. I mean, in his, in his favor at the same token. But if he's not, I mean, then he's not. We need to figure
Yeah,
out who is. I mean,
right.
they do, not us. I
I
mean,
think that for me, I think that I just kind of follow the sentiments of everybody on the panel. Like it would suck if this guy turn out and they're like, there's, he had this crazy alibi that he wasn't there and this was all planned and all that. That would be terrible for him. I mean, he's going to live his life, the rest of his life like that, being tied to something like that. And like I said, we would have a lot of work to continue to do, so that's
and
how
his
I feel.
family too. I mean, they'll be tied to this too.
Summer says, I will eat live crow if he's not guilty. Delan is asking a question for the panel. Do you believe the footprint was actually his? We've talked a little bit about this. We've come up with some theories about it on the channel. You can actually go back. I believe the stream is called the footprint theory or something with Xana. I can't remember the title. It's so long ago. We talk about it in that. We gave possible theories to what that possibly could be. The thing is, we don't truly know. We don't truly know.
Without a size, I mean, really, I mean, if size would help. But that could
Right.
either even be Ethan. Ethan looks like he could wear some Vans type of shoes.
True.
I'm just seeing if we have any more questions here, and then we'll get ready probably to wrap this up because we're coming close to about an hour and a half. Excuse me. If Ethan was against the door, wouldn't blood have been seeping out? And if so, why didn't his roommate call 911 instead of Hunter? I don't know. I was in
It
that
might
house.
not have been.
Yeah.
The door might have. I think that's because I'm thinking the doors went to the floor. I'm thinking I saw a picture of that, like almost. But I can't be like 100% sure. Let me see if I can find the picture.
I think the doors were open because the
I
way
think that
that
they
it's
were
described in the
shut.
PCA, you think they were shut.
Oh, I think that the first responders opened them, or either that or Ethan's friend. It did come out that I guess Drunk Turkey went on a panel and said that Hunter, Ethan's friend, through Christy Gonzalez, him talking to Christy, did, I guess, in fact, was the one that
Confirmed.
that called 911. So he confirmed it the other day because I listened to it like probably 5 times because I was like, what'd he say? I wanted to make sure. But he did say that he threw messages with her. Yeah. And I think they went over it on a live maybe last night, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
They
You
went
have
over
incredible dynamics that went on in this case. You have obviously the events leading up to it. Okay. You have all that information. Then you have the crime itself. Okay. And then you have the morning after. And then you have the morning after. Then you have supposedly all the people that came over and the 911 and the discovery and all that. So then you have all that information, and then you have post all of that to sort through as well too. There's a lot of different stages to what happened here. And I think along the way, maybe this did cast some doubt, the 8 hours in between the 911 call. You know what I mean? I think that did cast a lot of doubt in people's minds. And then just some other weird incidences or maybe coincidences that came up. And I think that's going back to our original point in this whole podcast is conspiracy theories.
I thought maybe if he closed the door, that would kind of explain the lack of blood trail. Maybe, do you know what I mean? Like all through the house. I'm just trying to think of and maybe that was the lack of them even seeing anything wrong, being that was wrong. Maybe Dylan did wake up in the middle of the night. Maybe she went to that bathroom. Maybe she did. She didn't see shit. Maybe because maybe the door was closed and she went to the bathroom. Doors or the lights were out. She just has the little light in the hallway lighting her way.
I agree.
She goes back to her room. I've heard that so many times. She had to have went to the bathroom. Well, she could still go to the bathroom if the door's closed or if the bathroom's door was open. I think it opens to the outside, doesn't it? I'm not sure if it opens out or in, but I thought it opened out. If it opens out, that could block the doorway. If the door was open and she just snuck in there and didn't even close the door, she's like, I'm just going to, be really quick. That door could be closed, I don't know, or open, just it could be shielded. I'm not sure if that's the way the door opens or not, but I have to look that up.
Well, we think, and we talked about this in one of my streams, we think that there was communication that night between Dylan and Bethany because they talk about in the original PCA, and I want to go back actually at some point and reread the whole thing because you pick up so many more things now that you know more stuff, because it says in there and we missed this like the first read throughs, and even months after this we missed it. It says with the downloads of the phones, meaning when they say when we downloaded the phones, Bethany and Dylan, we think that the murders happened between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. And I was like, you know what? They were probably fucking texting.
Okay, they
What
did
was
say the
that? Did you hear
phones.
that?
Okay. No,
What
I
was
heard that. I was like, oh,
what
that's
was that?
crazy.
Did you hear that? What was that loud noise? You know? Then you open the door. You're looking out. You go back in. I didn't hear anything. You know, listen. I'm
No, it
totally
makes
speculating
sense.
here,
Or
but
they
I
could have
didn't
been
hear
texting
anything.
other
Did you
people.
hear that? Did you hear that again? Who's screaming? Who's yelling? Go out and look again. You know what I mean? So that's what I always thought. That's what I
Because see, I
always
didn't
thought.
know if it was their phones or not, and so today I brought that up because I remember hearing people talk about the 4:25 a.m. like time window, and I'm like, what's the 4:25 one? Because I'm like, I'm no, he left at 4:20, and so I thought in my head, and this, and I was like, sorry to be graphic, so sorry to get graphic here, but I thought maybe it was somebody's, one of the victims' Apple
Yeah.
Watch maybe was still going after the Kohberger had left the property because maybe they were like getting ready to pass. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just like getting like ready to happen, and it still was ticking their heart rate for a
Right.
minute.
Right.
And I'm not saying that if that was the case that Bethany or Dylan could do anything to have stopped this, because my chat got really mad at me today when I said that, and I was like, no, I'm not trying to say that, like
Yeah.
that they could have done anything. I'm just saying, well, I thought that could have been the reason, but you're saying now that it was their phones,
Yeah,
so
hang
that
on. I'm gonna
makes
get
more
that. I'm
sense.
pulling the PC up right now. I want to make sure that we read that and get that clear to the audience. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
feel free chat amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go through this and
Yeah, no,
find it.
you're fine. I actually have it
Uh,
right here. I have like four in front of me. I
um,
have so many. If you haven't read the PCA from Pennsylvania yet, whenever you do go to read it again, read the PCA from Pennsylvania. It's different. It's worded different,
yeah, we've read it.
and I like that one. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's easier. It's more clear to
right.
me. For me, I don't know.
I just need to know what page this is on. I
And
think it's
people are like being fixated on whether they could see like the sheath from the door,
Yeah.
looking into Maddie's
yeah.
room. It's like, who knows? I mean, there's so much stuff going on. You could miss something at first
Yeah.
glance. That's why you have body cameras. That's why you have someone next to you with another set of eyes.
Especially if you're looking at what you're looking at. Like,
Exactly.
and you're a young officer. All them
Yeah.
cops were young. They weren't that old. You know what I mean? Like, and not even a veteran officer. I'm sure the chief of police has never seen anything like that. And
No, I mean
when I heard him on that podcast, he was like in tears talking about those kids. Like I've never heard him talk like that. I was taken aback because I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Like I didn't, and Chief Fry has like college age kids. He has
Yeah.
kids that are their age. So like, I know that had to like be like, that has to
And
hit hard.
Chief Fry said that he had to get counseling for him and his guys.
Yeah.
For what
Yeah.
they seen.
For what they saw. Yeah. That's just, I mean, that's just too much. I'm sure that it would be so easy to overlook that, and it is. You can see it from the doorway though. If you are, I'm sure, like because the beds are right there by the door.
Okay.
But if you're not looking for it, if you're looking at what you're seeing, like if you're looking at two girls,
Sure.
I couldn't imagine what you're trying to process the whole scene in a matter of seconds, like,
Yeah.
and try to collect yourself. I couldn't imagine.
So it says the combination of DM's statements and to law enforcement reviews forensic downloads and records from Bethany Funk and DM's phone and video of the suspect of a suspect video. Did I read that wrong? And a video of a suspect video as described below leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. I think that DM and Bethany were texting each other through the whole
Yeah.
thing, or some texts went out. Like, hey, did you hear that? Or what was that? Is everybody all right? What was that loud bang? I mean, that's how I would be if I'm in a house with a bunch of people and you're hearing a sound, and I know that there's been party sounds and this has all been talked about before. But if something didn't sound right to Dylan, for her to walk out and look out 3 times in the hallway, that noise that she heard, why would she go out and look 3 times? It doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
that doesn't make
It's just
sense.
partying. So it's something that she's never heard before for her to go out there and
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
in my
I
opinion.
agree. I
Just
agree with that.
know.
Now, I think that like what she saw when she saw him, I think that shocked her. Like, and I think that she froze then and was like, I think that was when trauma set in for her. because I don't think she was expecting, even if she was expecting a whole ass party thing, she thought a whole party was going on. In her mind, she knew they all went to bed because she said that, like in the PCA, it says like we were all settling down for bed by 4 a.m. So she probably in her head maybe thought like, oh, it's just another party sound. But then maybe like she's half asleep. She's like, wait, no, everyone's gone for the night. This isn't like a normal night here where there's a bunch of people. Because they said it was really quiet on the street that night, like abnormally quiet because there was a day game instead of, later on in the night where people were going to be out partying. Everyone was day drinking. So they were
a lot of
done
people, like,
earlier.
left too, I think, right? There's like a lot of
Probably,
people.
yes. Probably go back for, what was it, Thanksgiving break.
Yeah. So, that's been some of the theories we've thrown around here. And
Yeah.
not a conspiracy theory. I think logical thinking, I call it.
Yeah. That's what we went over timeline again today. Like, I was like, we might be going over this every single day if we need to. So I have to remind us all what the timeline is.
I'd like to go through the PCA again at some point.
Yeah.
And really
that's what I was doing. I'm on page like 6 of the Pennsylvania one. I was doing like visuals and stuff, and it got kind of hard once I hit page 6 because it's like Brian just driving, and I'm like, oh gosh, so I'm like mapping it out, and I'm like, this is kind of a little harder than I thought. But I know that the visuals are better.
Yeah.
So always confused 68 says, do you think that BK was already in the house hiding upstairs? I can't shake that feeling. I thought that at first, but I think now that I'm reading through the evidence and understanding a little bit more, I don't think that he was in the house.
About the time and stuff. Yeah, I don't think he had time to do that.
No. The fact that they seen his car starting at 3 something in the morning,
right,
and then, leaving and then coming back.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain a car racing away? They have it on video. Like why? How do you explain the car racing away from the scene that night? I mean, why? And then there's another theory that's been thrown around too. That the new one. You want to hear the new one? The new Kim Sears theory. The car is the wrong car. He actually bought a car and then he crushed it. He had it crushed.
Oh my god.
That's the new one. Yeah, that was on Facebook today. That was floating around on Facebook.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Nice.
Crushed the car.
He didn't use the car that is the wrong car. He bought a car.
It was a mock car.
It was a mock car.
Because they have money like that. His family has tons of money to be giving him money for a car. I mean, he didn't make that much as a TA probably to be buying another car. Just think about it logically for a second.
Oh no, I probably just started conspiracy theory, right? Oh shit. I probably just started conspiracy theory.
You probably did.
Oh,
now everyone's gonna run with it. Go run with it, guys.
Like,
go run to the other chats.
Yeah.
Fast.
Tell everybody.
Brian said it.
Where is Nightbot? I don't have my Nightbot working. Tanya and I think.
I need to help.
We're gonna get together, and she's gonna teach me how to use it.
I heard someone say, "Who blocked Nightbot?"
I just haven't got a chance to get around to it, so Tanya's gonna help me. We're just gonna get some time together.
Yeah.
I've been working like a madman lately. So.
And then I'll send Summer in here to help all the mods.
Yeah. Cool.
Because I send her all my codes and stuff. I just send it to her on the phone.
Let's do this because I know
she's the only mod that has the codes for my channel.
Yeah, we're gonna do this. 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 We got a new mod. Summer's become a new mod. Welcome to the channel.
Welcome.
All right, kids. I think that's gonna wrap up our Idaho. I'll tell you. I'll be honest with you. I had a lot of. I was at work today, and I just thought, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, I don't know if I can just keep doing this. I'll be honest with you, and I think I'm going to be honest with the chat. I may take a backstage for a little while in Idaho and just pull up and do some other cases for a little while because my brain is so melted on this. Yeah. And we need to switch it up. We need to switch it up a little bit and just wait until something else. And I say this, and then something comes out on Monday, and they'll be like, "This huge drop."
I know. I say every time. I go probably once a month. I'm going to take a break, and then I'm literally on every live. So I think I am going to take a break this week. I've been saying that for weeks. I think I've taken
take a break.
I think I've taken 10 days off, maybe.
Going hard.
Like 10 days in a year almost.
But it's good. It's good sometimes to let your channel kind of get that content out there, let it float. Because sometimes I notice when I flood my channel too much, things tend to slow down. Yeah. Flukas says, innocent until proven guilty. # free Brian.
Oh gosh,
he absolutely is innocent. He's absolutely innocent. What'd you say, Tanya?
They were in my chat today too. Oh my
hey,
God, that was a long time ago too.
They do have a point, though. Innocent until proven guilty. He is. He's innocent until proven guilty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he really is. My dog is. She's poking her little nose at the door because
I can't get with the
fireworks.
hashtag free Brian, but definitely innocent until proven guilty. Any last words? Anybody? Thank you. I want to
No,
welcome.
thank you guys for all being
everybody.
here.
Yeah, thanks for the support. Do me a favor, everybody, before you all leave, make sure all your bell notifications are turned on if they're not turned on already. I notice that's the biggest thing. I have over 7,000 subscribers on my channel, and only 1,000 of you have your bell notifications turned on. I don't know if you know that you can see that now, Tanya. You can see that stat.
What is it?
And if you don't, you can
about
find
the
out.
bell?
Yes, it
Oh,
tells
yeah,
you
the
how many
percentage.
subscribers. Not percentage. It will actually tell you the number now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah, I will
I'm
show
calling
you
people
how
out
to.
now.
Yeah, I'll show you.
I'll be
But
like,
yeah, please hit those bells because this is important. It's important to us. We put a lot of hard work into these streams, and we want everybody to come over for good, great content and not miss our streams. But that's really my rant. I think we had a great show. This was a great show. It really was. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It was a very refreshing show. And again, I appreciate Chosen, my channel moderator, for being over here. All my mods in the chat, my wrenches, I love all of you. I love all my members as well, too. And I will make a members only video on Monday this week. I promise you. I will get a members only. Titanium built Tanya, thank you so much. I appreciate you jumping over here. I need to do something on your channel soon. You just let me know. We'll work it out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'll come over and support you. You've been a huge supporter over here, and we really enjoy having you over here. Thank you.
Not a
I mean,
problem.
you're a clarity in this sea of conspiracy, and I think it's cool that you keep things really honest over
Thank
there.
you. I appreciate that.
Gail, thank you so much for the $5. I appreciate you. All right, kids, we're going to wrap this one up. If you're watching this live, thank you for being with us live. If not, in those comments, hashtag replay. I'd love to see that. And hopefully this gets pushed out into the algorithm. But that's going to wrap this show up. From Chosen, Tanya, Titanium Built, and myself, Brian, Let's Talk Live podcast. This was episode 17. I will be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to do a stream. Thanks, everybody. We love all you, and we'll see you next time.